same.
And you take this obligation freely.
I take this obligation freely.
Without mental reservation.
Without mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully.
That I will well and faithfully.
Discharge the duties.
Discharge the duties.
Of the office upon which I am about to enter.
Of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman.
Secretary Austin and Mrs. Austin are now moving to the field to honor General Milley and Mrs. Milley. Prior to today's ceremony, General Milley was presented the Distinguished Service Medal from the Army, Navy, Air Force, Space Force, and Coast Guard. He was also presented the Defense Distinguished Service Medal by Secretary of Defense Austin. Headquarters, Department of the Army Special Orders. By order of the Secretary of the Army, the following General Officer is retired. General Mark A. Milley. The Secretary of Defense has awarded the Department of Defense Medal for Distinguished Public Service to Mrs. Holly Ann H. Milley. Mrs. Holly Ann H. Milley is recognized for distinguished public service in support of members of the United States Armed Forces from October 2019 to July 2023. As a devoted ambassador of goodwill and a model example for the spouses of all soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Guardians, and Coast Guardsmen, Mrs. Milley was an untiring advocate for the improvement of the quality of life of our men and women in uniform. For more than 38 years, she was a fervent ambassador for the needs of the military community. At every level of command, Mrs. Milley served as a family readiness group leader with a mission to listen to and advocate for military spouses. A career nurse with multiple military moves, she was a passionate supporter of military spouse employment opportunities, licensure reciprocity, healthcare quality and availability, and mental health education for service members and their families. Mrs. Milley's presence on numerous trips to visit both stateside bases and overseas areas served as a constant reminder of her steadfast commitment to our military personnel and reflected a total devotion and unconditional commitment to the values cherished within the military community. This dedication was further displayed in her support of the Red Cross service to the armed forces, Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, Easter SEALs, and United Through Reading. Mrs. Milley gave freely of her time to many other worthy community causes that significantly benefited our military members. The distinctive accomplishments of Mrs. Milley reflect great credit upon herself and the Department of Defense. Signed, Lloyd J. Austin III, Secretary of Defense. On the occasion of retirement of this distinguished soldier, we also recognize the outstanding service of his wife, Holly Ann, who is presented with the Department of the Army Certificate of Appreciation for her faithful and devoted service. It is her dedicated support which made possible such a lasting contribution to our nation. By order of the Secretary of the Army, signed General James C. McConville, Chief of Staff, United States Army. At this time, a bouquet of red roses is being presented to Mrs. Milley on behalf of General Milley, signifying his love and her unwavering support for over 40 years of military service. Also at this time, a bouquet of flowers is being presented to General Milley's daughter, Mary, and a gift is being presented to his son, Peter. A bouquet of yellow roses is also being presented to Mrs. Brown. We are proud to recognize General Milley's devotion to our country, and we wish him happiness and prosperity in his well-earned retirement. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the posting of the colors. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Lloyd Austin.
Troops and the band, you look magnificent this morning. Thanks for what you continue to do for our country. Good morning, everyone. President Biden, Vice President Harris, it is an absolute honor to have both of you here with us today. Let me also thank the members of Congress, ambassadors, and foreign leaders who are joining us, as well as the former senior military leaders and former secretaries of defense. I'm glad to be here with so many of our senior leaders at the department, including our service secretaries, our service chiefs, the joint staff, and our combatant commanders. And again, thanks to you all for joining us today as we salute General Mark Milley for his distinguished tenure as the 20th Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And I'm absolutely honored to welcome General Charles Q. Brown, Jr. as the 21st Chairman. Now, the service members on the field today represent our joint force, the troops who General Milley led with such passion and skill as chairman. Every day, that force defends our country and supports our allies and partners, and advances our interests and upholds our founding values. So today is a celebration of every American who volunteers to wear the cloth of our nation. And it's a celebration of the distinguished career of General Mark Milley. Now, you may not know this, but he grew up in Boston. It's a little-known fact, unless you've ever met the guy. He calls Boston the Holy Land. So to him, Bobby Orr of the Boston Bruins is a patron saint. And Bobby Orr once said that hockey teams win because of hard work and sacrifice. Without that, he said, skill is just potential. But General Milley has never let his skill languish as just potential. He's always been eager to get into the fight. And I've seen that firsthand over our long history of working together, including one time when he got me blown up, literally. You see, during the Iraq War, I was commanding the 10th Mountain Division, and he was one of my brigade commanders. And during one of my visits, one of his troops was wounded. And Mark said, "Hey, sir, let's go into town to the hospital to see our soldier. We'll do it at night when it's easier and there's not much activity." And so as we prepared to depart, following detailed rehearsals, I said to General Milley, "You know, Mark, this just doesn't feel right." But Mark said, "Hey, don't worry, sir, we do this all the time." So we took Route Irish in Baghdad, which was known as the most dangerous road in the world. And we promptly got hit by an IED. It hit my door and shredded the tires on our Humvee. And it was pitch black and smoky. And Mark said, "Hey, sir, are you okay?" I said, "Mark, we've just been hit. I'm angry because we can't return fire because the guy ran away. The vehicle is damaged. I recommend we get the hell out of here." And we finally did. And afterwards I asked, "Hey, General, has this happened to you before?" And Mark said, "Oh, yes, sir. I've been blown up about 5 times now." And like I said, he was always eager to get into the fight. And he's never hesitated to charge into danger for his troops or for his country. This goes back to his earliest days as an infantryman and a Green Beret, including his time commanding a battalion in the famed 506 Parachute Infantry Regiment. And during his brigade command, what I saw was what so many others have also seen: his vigor, his grit, and his tremendous leadership potential. So following brigade command, I encouraged him to serve on the Joint Staff. And there he learned a ton of skills that would help him later in his career. He continued to rapidly climb. And in 2015, he went on to spend 4 demanding years, as the Chief of Staff of the Army. And he loved absolutely every minute of it. And then General Milley agreed to serve another 4 years in an even tougher job. Now think of everything that our military has done during his tenure as chairman. We've taken on the pacing challenge of the People's Republic of China, confronted a once-in-a-generation pandemic, and led the world to help Ukraine fight back after Russia's imperial invasion. And General Milley has a deep sense of history. And he knows that future generations would judge us harshly if we fail to defend the post-war order built by American leadership. And so he hasn't just studied history, he has made history. Now, his sense of calling grew out of the proud military family, Milley family heritage of military service. And General Milley's own life of service would not have been possible without his outstanding family. His wife, Holly Ann, is an accomplished critical care nurse, and she is also the real deal. At a ceremony a few years ago at Arlington National Cemetery, someone collapsed in the crowd, and Holly Ann didn't hesitate. She started CPR and directed someone to call the paramedics. And after a couple of sets of chest compressions, the man finally took a deep breath. And that's not the first time that she saved a life at an event. One time at an Army gala, she performed CPR on someone else in trouble while wearing an evening gown. And for too many times to count, she's been a lifesaver for Mark and their family. While he was away on deployments, Holly Ann cared for their beloved kids, Peter and Mary. And over the years, the Milley family has moved more than 20 times. Holly Ann has had to transfer her nursing license to 9 different states. And she has helped countless military spouses to do the same. And that's made her a strong advocate for military families. So Holly Ann, thank you for your phenomenal service to our country. We're also grateful for Mark and Holly Ann's son, Peter, and his wife, Meredith, and for their daughter, Mary, and her husband, Andrew, and their kids, Alice, Ben, and Clark. And Andrew, thank you for your 8 years of service in the U.S. Army, including as a company commander and a troop commander in the 82nd Airborne Division. This is an extraordinary military family. Now, General Milley is a scholar and a warrior. We respect him for his wits, but we love him for his heart. And he's thrown his whole heart into leading this tremendous joint force of soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, guardians. And in retirement, he'll have more time for his second favorite joint force. The Red Sox, Patriots, the Celtics, and the Bruins. Mark, I know that most of all, you're looking forward to spending more time with your grandkids. And after a lifetime devoted to the common defense, you have more than earned some time for the pursuit of happiness. So at this bittersweet moment, let me simply say, thank you, General. Thank you for all that you have done and for all that you have given. We wish you Godspeed in the chapters still to come. Congratulations, soldier. Now, General Milley is a tough act to follow, but we are fortunate to have a tremendous leader in General Brown. He will guide our brave troops without fail and defend our democracy without flinching. And I'm honored to have the chance to say a few words about our great new chairman of the Joint Chiefs. But before I do, I want to mention some other outstanding American military leaders. I'm truly pleased that the United States Senate recently confirmed General Brown as our next chairman. I'm also glad to welcome General Randy George as our next Chief of Staff of the Army, and General Eric Smith as our next Commandant of the Marine Corps. But 367 of our outstanding general and flag officers are now grappling with the uncertainty of a blanket hold. So I urge the Senate to swiftly confirm all of our distinguished military nominees. And that brings me back to our next chairman. You know, I'm told that when General Brown meets with troops, he often asks them, "What's your superpower?" And that's because CQ knows that each of our service members has something exceptional to contribute. And General Brown is blessed with superpowers himself. I've seen his talents firsthand. When I was commander of Central Command, General Brown was the commander of my air component. And he led forces in combat during the air campaign against ISIS and rallied our allies and partners to help destroy its terrorist caliphate in Iraq and Syria. Now, General Brown also has a superpower for teaching. He did 2 stints at the Fighter Weapons School, where he taught the Air Force's most elite airmen. And wherever he goes, he sets a powerful example with his quiet confidence and his deep integrity and his constant compassion. Now, General Brown would not be where he is today without his wife Shireen and their sons Sean and Ross. Shireen has served right alongside CQ through 20 moves. She has helped shape DoD's exceptional family member program so that more families with special needs can get better resources and support. So to Shireen and the entire Brown family, thank you for all that you do to strengthen our military community and for supporting General Brown as he takes the helm of our joint force. And General Brown, I know that you'll make us all proud as the chairman. And to our entire joint force, today and every day, America is counting on you. We're counting on you to deter aggression wherever we can, to stand ready to fight and to win wherever we must, and to work with our partners for a more secure and peaceful world, and to defend the republic that we love. The watch is changing, but the mission goes on. Thank you for your unwavering commitment to that mighty cause. May God bless you and your families, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Two minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Thank you very much. Before I begin,
I want to say a brief word about Senator Dianne Feinstein, who passed away this morning. She was a historic figure, trailblazer for women, and a great friend. Dianne made her mark on everything from national security to the environment, to gun safety, to protecting civil liberties. The country's going to miss her dearly, and so will Jill and I. I'll have more to say about her later today. Vice President Harris, our second gentleman, Secretary Austin, members of Congress, leaders of the Department of Defense, both current and former, friends and officials from around the world, thank you for being here today to mark the change of responsibility and to celebrate the service of General Mark Milley, a combat infantryman, a master parachutist, a Green Beret, a warrior who served a total of 5 years in war zones, from Panama to Haiti to Bosnia to Afghanistan to Iraq, with a chest full of medals to show for it. A leader who once ran across a bridge booby-trapped with mines to stop 2 battle tanks evacuating wounded troops from driving across it. A patriot, uncompromising in his duty, unflinching in the face of danger, and unwavering in his service for the country. And Holly Ann, none of us can say enough about you. You served right alongside him every step of the way, and that's not hyperbole. You served alongside him every step of the way. You pulled double and triple duty to make sure you and Mark were always doing right by your family, supporting the military community while maintaining your own career as a nurse. It's incredible what you have achieved, Holly Ann. The work you've done to increase support for military spouse employment is going to keep improving the lives of military families for a long time. And Peter and Mary, thank you for sharing your dad with us. I know it wasn't easy. All those moves, all those schools, all those months, when your dad was deployed, you couldn't be together. Thank you for all you've given to our country. And Mark, I know one of the best parts of retirement for you, as already mentioned by our secretary, is you're going to spend more time with your kids. That's going to be fun, man. I tell you what, I love my kids. I'm crazy about my grandkids. Now, everyone who has spent time with Mark knows 3 things about him. Several were already mentioned. 1, he's from Boston. He parks his car in car garages. He likes maps, and he loves the Constitution. But each of these 3 things points to something deeper about Mark's character. His Boston heritage isn't just about pride of place. It's pride in what shaped him, the values that have guided his whole life. It's about the father and mother, both veterans of World War II, who set the example of nobility, the nobility of serving your country. It's about knowing that his dad was among those who landed in Iwo Jima, and that if those young men his father served alongside could raise a flag on Mount Suribachi, then there's nothing America cannot accomplish when we work together. It's about how his parents strived and sacrificed so their children would have every opportunity to chart their own future. It's knowing that everyone who served under his command had their own story, in his view, just as important as his. And to this day, whenever Mark's attended events, I've watched him. We've attended many events together. I've watched him. He'll talk to every young person, every veteran, every Gold Star family who wants to speak to him, no matter how long it takes, so we can hear their story as well and show his respect. The Boston pride is about knowing where you come from. The maps are about knowing where you are and where you're going. Mark wants to make sure he has the necessary facts to inform his decisions as a leader and his advice to others. As Commander-in-Chief, I've relied on Mark's counsel because I know he always gives it to me straight, no matter what. He always gives it to me straight. He's working with the best information possible, and he doesn't hold anything back. During his tenure as chairman, Mark has been a steady hand guiding our military as we navigate what I would argue is one of the most complex security environments our world has faced in a long time. He's been critical to strengthening America's existing alliances, from NATO to the Indo-Pacific, to building the new strategic partnerships like AUKUS, and keeping our force at a cutting edge in the fields of cyber and space, ending America's longest war and continuing to take terrorists off the battlefield, standing with the brave people of Ukraine and making sure they have the equipment and support they need when they need it to defend their freedom, and letting them know how much he respects them. Mark, your partnership has been invaluable to me, and I give you my word to that. And I think it's been invaluable to Secretary Austin as well. I want to thank you for always seeing, always sharing the whole map with me, the whole map. Thanks, pal. When it comes to the Constitution, that is, and always has been, Mark's North Star. I'm so damn proud to serve with him. He's made it the central image on his challenge coin. Those three little words that mean so much to every American, but especially to those who stand in the service of our nation. The middle of his challenge coin says, "We the people." We the people. It's a reminder to all of us what makes us a strong nation, who we are as a democracy, and how the United States, for more than 2 centuries, has always managed to keep moving forward. Not fealty to any one person or to a political party, but to the idea of America. Idea unlike any other in human history. The idea that we're all created equal. That is what the Constitution safeguards. That's what we swear an oath to. And that is why generations of young women and men, Americans of every background and creed, have stepped forward to be part of the greatest fighting force in the history of the world. And that's not hyperbole. You're the greatest fighting force in the history of the world. I've seen you in Afghanistan, Iraq. I don't want to get started. And our military is going to keep growing stronger, with General C.Q. Brown, Charles Q. Brown, Jr., as our 24th Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Congratulations, old buddy. As Mark will tell you, I'll be meeting a lot with you. I said when I nominated General Brown as a seasoned warrior with deep combat experience, an experienced commander of the Joint Force, a top flight strategist, a leader known throughout the force for his unmatched judgment and unflappable demeanor. Like General Milley, General Brown is a patriot through and through, sworn to uphold and defend the Constitution. He and his wife, Shireen, have dedicated themselves to keeping our military and their families healthy and vibrant. I thank you both and your sons Sean and Ross for everything you've given to our country over the years. I look forward to working even more closely with you, CQ, as we take on the challenges ahead to ensure that our force can continue to deter and defeat any potential threat to the American people. As Secretary Austin noted, I'm glad that General Brown was confirmed by the Senate along with the new Commandant of the Marine Corps and Army Chief of Staff. But I must be careful here how I say this, but it's thoroughly, totally unacceptable that more than 300 other highly qualified military officers are still in limbo. I've been here a long time. I've never seen anything like this. It's outrageous, and it must stop. Their promotions, their careers, their families, their futures, held hostage by the political agenda of one senator and the silence of another 47 of them. It's a drag on our force. It impacts everything from readiness to morale to retention. It's an insult to the officers. Years of dedicated service. Our troops deserve so much better. If the House fails to fulfill its most basic function, if it fails to fund government by tomorrow, we'll have failed all our troops. Our service members will keep upholding their oaths, showing up for work, standing sentinel around the world, keeping our country secure, but they won't get paid. It's a disgrace. Thousands of Defense Department civilians and civilian servants will be sent home. And the longer they shut down last, the harder it will become for military families to pay their bills. We can't be playing politics while our troops stand in the breach. It's an absolute dereliction of duty. As leaders, we must never lose sight of the direct impacts of the decisions we make and the impact they have on the lives and families around the world. General Milley, General Brown, Secretary Austin, and all the many great leaders across every branch of our military. You got to where you are by demonstrating extraordinary care and concern for the troops you command. It's a lived leadership of being in the field alongside your troops, sharing their hardships, holding each other together when times are hard, never forgetting the humanity beneath the uniform. It's an enormous credit to each of them personally, an enormous asset for our country. Secretary Austin told the story of how he and General Milley got blown up together by an IED in Iraq. But the part of the story that stands out to me is the reason they were on Route Irish that night to begin with. The reason they were there. They were going to see one of Milley's soldiers who had been wounded. In fact, during that tour in Iraq, you'd often find then Colonel Milley down at that hospital, sitting with the wounded so they wouldn't be alone, rounding up his troops for an impromptu blood drive if the docs let him know they were running low on units, putting an arm around his team, gathering them together, seeing to their injuries, both physical and mental, when war extracts the greatest of tolls. That's leadership. That's patriotism. That's strength. That's Mark Milley. Mark, you know how strongly I feel about you. You've given remarkable service to our country. You've done honor to the uniform of our nation. You've upheld your oath. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for being my friend. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.